More snow today and single-digit highs later this week means more demand at the area's homeless shelters.
And Governor Tony Evers delivers his first State of the State address tonight. Josh Breider's live with where your money might be spent in the next state budget.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning. At 6 o'clock now on this Tuesday, January 22nd. We are looking at 19 closings today, school-wise. Just a handful of the big ones: Sauk Prairie, Baraboo, Richland, and my dear friends over in Highland also getting a little school closing today. Good for them.
Oh, I'm sure the parents are really happy about
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Kids are excited.
Yeah.
Madison's still on though, right?
That's
I'm sure
so
my kids
far.
are
So far, yeah.
texting me.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure they will.
Oh, they'll be texting me. I don't forecast school closings, but I can tell you what we are expecting as far as snow totals. Today and tomorrow morning are alert days for the area. We're looking at snow spreading in this morning, probably hitting the Madison area by about 9 or 10 o'clock, so it won't impact the morning commute, but it will continue through the rest of the day, adding up to 4 to 10 inches. There still is a small risk for some freezing rain across the area as well. Now, winter weather bulletins going into effect right now at 6 o'clock is a winter storm warning for southwestern Wisconsin. It starts at 9 o'clock for the rest of the area. Here's a look at the radar map. Things are still pretty quiet, so looking good if you're just heading out the door this morning. But remember to bring that snow gear because snow will be falling as you come home from work or school later today. It's already starting to develop just to our west in northeastern Iowa. That snow will continue to move into the region. Temperatures will climb into the mid-20s, which is a huge improvement over yesterday. But the snow really is the main impact today, not the cold temperatures. Here's a look at your first alert traffic maps early today. Again, pretty quiet, no precipitation falling right now. There are some brake lights showing up on Stoughton Road as you head towards the belt line, but otherwise no accidents to report around the area, which is great news. Again, take care. Plan on that snow impacting your driving later today.
Yeah, and this is just the start of a stretch of winter weather coming our way.
Very active, yeah.
One storm at a time. All right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
So as Hattie just mentioned, we will be considerably warmer today than yesterday, but that is not the case later this week when we will have single-digit highs for really the first time this winter. That means more difficult days to come for people experiencing homelessness in our area. The Beacon Day Shelter just east of the Capitol on East Wash is open from 8 to 5 every day. That facility squeezed as many people in as possible yesterday when temperatures barely got into the teens. The wind chill was a factor as well. The Salvation Army's emergency shelter was over capacity. Workers there say while it's stressful to find everyone some space, it is worth it to help more women and children stay warm.
There's not any staff here who doesn't have a sense of, I would say, pride in what we do because we're able to provide so much for these families, but also compassion for what they're going through and how hard this really is.
So with the increased need and demand, these organizations are always looking for help. We have more information on how you can do that over on channel3000.com.
We have an update to our breaking news yesterday morning. The Dane County Airport says it was the cold weather that caused yesterday's power outage. About 1,500 people were at the airport around 5:30 yesterday morning when the lights went out and the backup generator failed to kick in. All passengers, even those already through security screening, had to come back down to the main floor for security reasons. Dozens of flights were delayed. It took about 3 hours for the power to be restored. Madison Gas and Electric issued a statement on the problem, saying in part that one of their control systems has been adjusted now to account for extra energy use during extreme weather. A spokesperson tells News 3 this was a unique incident and it shouldn't happen anywhere else inside the city.
New this morning, a lab that makes rat poison should be back up and running today after it was evacuated for a gas leak. Madison police got the call just after 4 o'clock this morning at Bell Laboratories. That's on the east side, right near Madison College's Truax campus. Police say workers inside hit a gas pipe, and that's what caused the leak. Firefighters and MG&E crews were able to get that gas turned off, and no one was hurt.
A 39-year-old man in Janesville is facing multiple felonies this morning after attempting to rob someone last night and then running away from officers. Police say Shane Clark was trying to get into a home on the 600 block of Johnson Street, about 3 blocks east of Center Avenue. Before police could get there, Clark drove off and ended up taking officers on a 2.5-mile pursuit. He avoided spike strips and even regained control after a squad car forced him to spin out. Clark is now facing 5th offense OWI charges as well as felony fleeing an officer. All right, 6:05 your time now. It is no secret that education is a priority for Governor Tony Evers, especially considering what he did for a living before getting voted into office.
We should get a better idea of just how much the governor wants to invest in public schools in his State of the State address later today. Josh Sprider is live ahead of that from the Capitol with more on what we can expect. Hi, Josh.
Good morning. As the former state superintendent of public instruction, it should be no surprise that Governor Tony Evers has focused heavily on education, both in his campaign and as he puts together his budget proposal. Earlier this month, he announced plans to increase funding for public schools by $1.4 billion in his upcoming budget proposal. That amounts to a 10% increase. He's also expressed an interest in creating a star student program to recognize excellent students for their accomplishments. In the past week or so, Governor Evers has been talking a lot about health care. That includes his desire to expand Medicaid, make sure protections stay in place for people with pre-existing conditions, and even possibly take the first steps to legalizing medical marijuana. So all of that could be something we hear tonight as Tony Evers makes his address starting at 7 o'clock, and we'll of course be there for that. And Republicans will have their response following the governor.
All right, Josh Sprider reporting live from the Capitol. Thank you, Josh. And as you just mentioned, the address is scheduled to start at 7 o'clock tonight. We will stream that live online at channel3000.com. And then afterwards, we'll have team coverage with Rose Schmidt and Chief Political Reporter Jessica Arp reporting live from the Capitol. That'll be on News 3 at 10.
Today marks the 9th day the correctional institution up in Columbia is on lockdown, and there's no word on the reason. The Department of Corrections said in an email, lockdowns are usually to search for any contraband that might have made its way into the prison, but it has not clarified the reason for this specific longer lockdown. In the meantime, visits are restricted. Our Jamie Perez spoke with one woman who said she can't talk with her husband or her brother, who are both inside the prison.
Been visiting my husband in prison for the last 10 years, and there hasn't been a lockdown to this effect. And I've heard of several instances where there has been drugs or weapons or violence and rape and all of those type of things, and there's never been a lockdown for 8 days.
The Department of Corrections says it does not know when the lockdown will end. Anyone with questions can email them at docmedia@wisconsin.gov.
The Engineering Center's building on the UW-Madison campus will reopen later today after fire sprinklers went off and damaged parts of that building. Alarms started sounding at around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. Smoke was seen coming from the building and everyone was evacuated. Officers looked through the facility and determined while there was no active fire, smoke was coming from a large oven in the basement. The building was closed for the rest of the day as cleanup efforts continued into the evening. There's an update to a story we told you about yesterday that might have you keeping a closer eye on the kids next time you're running errands. Baraboo's police chief is encouraging his community to stay vigilant after several women posted about being followed at the city's Walmart. One of those women describes a situation where two well-dressed men started following her around the store. She was so afraid she asked someone to walk her to her car. Now, Chief Mark Schaaf, that is, thinks his community is on high alert following the abduction of Jamie Kloss and is reminding people living there that human trafficking incidents mostly start online. Still, he's asking everyone to educate themselves on the issue of human trafficking and also to park in well-lit areas and keep personal belongings close by.
You know, I think this is a feeling that a lot of people have right now, especially after the Jamie Kloss case. Just a sense of this can happen in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, human trafficking, we reported on it before in this state. And according to the Human Trafficking Hotline, they've had 1,500 calls from Wisconsin alone since 2007. I mean, that's a lot of people. And that's the people who reported. So
it's important to stay vigilant, but it's also important, as the chief said, to know, you know, these things happen online. You are safe in your community as long as you're keeping an eye out.
Yep, absolutely. Be aware.
All right, 6:09 your time now. Next to this morning, if your high school student is looking to beef up their resume, maybe get some job skills before graduation, you're going to want to stick around for our conversation with the Goodman Community Center.
That's right. It's a really cool event happening today. And today is an alert day for another storm, which could include some freezing drizzle. Hattie will tell us how much snow we can expect, how it might affect the roads, and more on the almost 30 districts closed today when News 3 This Morning continues.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. No snow falling right now, but we do have a lot of snow headed into the area a little bit later on this morning. Today into Wednesday morning, there will be alert days in the forecast due to that accumulating snow. It's definitely going to impact travel for the evening commute as well as the morning commute tomorrow. There still is a risk for a little bit of freezing rain this afternoon, mainly to the south. Otherwise, here's a look at the winter weather bulletins. Again, starting right now for southwestern Wisconsin. They'll begin at 9 o'clock for the rest of the area. Everyone has been upgraded to a winter storm warning for this event. We're looking at a pretty wide band across the area of some heavy snow, 5 to 10 inches for most of the viewing area with this particular event. Slightly lighter amounts to the north and west, and then the south and east where they have the highest probability of some freezing rain mixing in. Now things are pretty quiet right now, so this is not expected to impact the morning commute. There is some snow that's developing across northeastern Iowa. More snow further back to the west that will spread into southern Wisconsin yet this morning. Take a look at those current temperatures. At least we're talking about double digits this morning across the region. 16 here in Madison, 18 in Platteville, 18 in Janesville, and 17 in Lone Rock. It's only part of the story, though. That darn wind, southeasterly at 10 to 20 miles an hour, does make it feel pretty cold this morning. Wind chills are hovering in the single digits above zero, pretty close to zero in most spots. So if you're wanting to time out the snow for today, it's not going to impact the morning commute, as I mentioned, but it will start to spread into the area between 7 and 8 o'clock. And then quickly spread across the entire southern part of the state. So by lunchtime, you're likely to see snowflakes all across the area. Snow will continue on and off through the afternoon into the evening. Some of those bands of snow may be heavy at times. You see that potential for the freezing rain getting very close to southeastern Wisconsin later on today. Accumulating snow continues overnight into Wednesday morning. So again, still impacting the commute tomorrow morning, but it will come to an end from west to east. After that, another Arctic outbreak. We have temperatures that will tumble into the double digits below zero by Friday morning. We actually have alert days in the forecast for Friday and Saturday due to dangerously cold wind chills, especially during the morning hours each day. And then another chance for accumulating snow coming Sunday into Monday. So stay tuned to the forecast. A lot going on over the next week. Let's get an update now on traffic this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, so far it's a quiet start on the Beltline this morning. Really nothing to slow you down yet in either direction at this point. Looking at roads here in Dane County, there are a few brake lights on Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline ramps. No delays downtown and around campus. Expect things to pick up over the next hour or so. Other main routes heading into the city, they're moving along at the usual speeds with no crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. So it's rare that we get to talk about a 3-course meal for just $15, and even better, this one we get to talk about this morning helps teens in our area get jobs.
Yeah, tonight's pop-up dinner is supporting Goodman Community Center's TeenWorks program. John Leica joins us this morning to talk more about the program. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So for people who don't know what TeenWorks is, let's talk about it a little bit because it's a really cool program.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a program for youth with barriers to employment to gain educational and employment opportunities. It's generally focused in our kitchen. We have a 20-hour training session that we offer 6 times a year, and at the end of each training, youth gain different certifications that make them eligible to work both at Goodman or elsewhere in the community.
Why is that important? I think, some families out there are fortunate enough that, our kids don't have to work, but you probably see a very different story from some of these kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of kids who want to support their families and help, and there's lots of kids who want to gain experience and get back on track towards graduation. So there's some credit recovery opportunities as well. But this can mean a lot to them to get references from our staff, get that ServSafe certification, employability experience, and can really make the difference for their next job interview.
When you see some of these teens at the Goodman Center going through this program, I mean, what's the environment like? What are they learning there?
It's awesome. I mean, a lot of them maybe aren't used to working with the types of foods that we have available. It's maybe not something they see in their home or something they expected that they would do years before that. But they're really having fun. I was in there yesterday watching them put together the lasagna and everything, and everyone was having a good time.
Speaking of lasagna, we got to talk about what's going on tonight.
Yeah.
And what kind of food is coming? Yeah.
Yes, so we're having a 3-course dinner. Features Dan Bonanno from A Pig in a Fur Coat and Ali Montari. Yeah, absolutely.
Sold.
Yeah. So it's going to be a really fun event that brings the community together. But one of the most important things is that it provides more employment opportunities for our youth, and they get the experience of working with some of the best chefs in our city, which is one-of-a-kind experience to be side by side in the kitchen with them.
Yeah, no kidding. What do they walk away with, these teens, just to make sure that people are fully aware? I mean, obviously they get some resume builders and things like that, but do you have like one teen in mind when you think of this program and what they've gone through and where they go next?
Well, I won't be surprised if anyone watching here or yourselves has eaten a meal prepared by one of our former students downtown in Madison. I mean, some of our kids go on to culinary school or go on to work at prestigious restaurants downtown, and there's some really great examples of our kids that are making a difference.
That's really cool.
Great building blocks in this program. And back to the meal tonight, there are still tickets available, right?
Yes, but only a few, so hurry and get them fast.
All right, 5:30 tonight at the Goodman Community Center. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to see you. All right, you will be able to see at least one Packers player during the Super Bowl. We'll tell you what Clay Matthews is talking about, not playing, obviously, in his 30-second spot.
And today is an all-day snow fest, starting in the morning and continuing overnight. Hattie shares what you need to know before you head out the door. That's next on News 3 This Morning.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. Winter storm warnings in effect for the entire area today as snow is expected to move in. We have the clouds right now, snow not yet affecting southern Wisconsin, but it will start to move in during the mid-morning hours. Temperatures are significantly warmer, almost 30 degrees warmer here this morning than it was this time yesterday. Here's a look at the actual air temperatures. As you get the kids ready to head to the bus stop, temperatures are in the teens this morning, but keep in mind wind chills are still pretty close to zero, so you'll want to bundle up today. At that bus stop, no snow this morning, but snow through the lunch hour into the afternoon may make it a little slower as you head home from school. Stay safe today.
We most certainly will. Thank you, Hattie. So if you're one of the many people affected by the summer's flooding, Common Council is making sure the city can secure federal disaster funding a little later tonight. Flood damage across Dane County added up to more than $150 million. FEMA has been working with each of the 14 counties that saw serious flooding issues to make sure property owners were actually reporting their damage. Tonight, alders will vote to make sure the city engineer can file the appropriate paperwork to move that process along.
There is an update on the plans for Madison's permanent public market. Tonight, alders will look at paying a Minneapolis-based architect $1.2 million to design the specs. It's planned for the corner of East Johnson and First Streets on the Near East Side, taking the place of the old Fleet Services building there. Construction on the $13 million project should start sometime next year.
So if you have ever navigated the intersection of John Nolan and Wilson downtown, you know why it's affectionately referred to as a hairball. The city is making sure engineers are clear to accept more than $2 million in federal funding to rebuild it and clear it out a bit. And speaking of congestion, alders are also looking at changing the way permits are handled for downtown events. A so-called downtown zone, which it would include much of the isthmus. The current ordinance does not address the impact of those events on public transit, strains it can put on emergency services, or the effect of overlapping events on city resources. All right, one of your favorite Packers players, linebacker Clay Matthews, is going to be featured in a Verizon commercial airing on Super Bowl Sunday.
This is pretty neat, and rather than focusing on a new smartphone or a coverage plan, Verizon's highlighting the importance of first responders. In Matthews' commercial, he and his mom talk about an accident he had as a kid where he flipped over the handlebars of his scooter and landed face first into the asphalt. He suffered a concussion and had swelling in his brain. His mom thought the worst at first, but says the men and women who came to help got them through it.
They were incredible. I had a hug. I had them talking to me. If ever I could thank them and tell them, gosh, you know, thank you for being so sensitive and walking me through this, because it was a scary thing.
In the commercial, Clay Matthews offers his thanks as well, calling firefighters, paramedics, and police officers true heroes. By the way, Super Bowl 53 is Sunday, February 3rd, right here on WISC-TV.
It's great that the Packers fans won't be totally left out.
Yeah, and it's a little different for him. We always see him in a comedic relief sort of
definitely.
commercial. So a little more serious, Clay Matthews. I can dig it.
I like it.
Okay, 6:25 your time. Now, Madison is responding to a viral video appearing to show Catholic students taunting a group of Native American veterans at the nation's capital. We're going to tell you about a protest happening here today.
And firefighters are asking all of us to shovel it forward with the snow to help people who really shouldn't be exerting themselves to clear the driveway. The day's top stories are next on News 3 this morning.
People in Madison will take to the streets to respond to a viral video from another protest at the nation's capital.
Governor Tony Evers will be giving his first ever State of the State address here at the state capitol tonight. I'm Josh Butter live with what he's expected to touch on.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning. It's 6:29 now on this Tuesday, January 22nd. And the snow's on the way, folks. We have 38 school closings right now, the big ones. What are we looking at? Platteville, Iowa Grant, the Dells, Highland, always closed down on these days. Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it.
Most definitely, because the roads could be really messy, particularly this afternoon and evening. Let's turn it over to Hattie now out on her patio with a look at what's to come. Hi, Hads.
Good morning, Danica and Leah. Yeah, this is not going to impact the morning commute, but it will definitely impact the commute home later today, as well as the commute back to work or school on Wednesday. Let's take a look. It is an alert day today through Wednesday morning. I've added Wednesday morning to the alert day because this snow will continue overnight and not come to an end until about mid-morning tomorrow. Ramped snow totals up even more than we were expecting yesterday. So we're looking at a general 4 to 10 inch snowfall for southern Wisconsin. There still is a chance for a little bit of freezing rain to work its way into the far southern part of the state as well. Winter weather bulletins. Everyone's been upgraded to a winter storm warning for this event. Here's a look at the radar map this morning. I've been watching that snow develop across Iowa. I would expect that sort of trend to continue over the next several hours as the snow moves into southern Wisconsin. So here's a look at your day planner. By about 10 o'clock here in Madison, you're looking at some snow falling, and then it continues right into the afternoon into tonight. Now, there may be a few breaks, but some of those bands of snow could be heavy later today as well. High temperatures will be in the middle 20s. Now, again, things are pretty quiet right now, so outside of the normal volume issues, we're not seeing any major delays or issues to report this morning. No accidents across southern Wisconsin, so your travel looking good. But again, plan a lot of extra time to get to your destination later today. And that's your first alert traffic.
Most definitely. Thank you, Hattie. So Governor Tony Evers will lay out his priorities for your kids' education and your family's health care in his first State of the State address tonight.
Our Josh Spreiter is live at the Capitol this morning with more on what we expect to hear about and why it matters to you. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Yeah, the governor's office has been pretty tight-lipped over what we're going to be hearing tonight, but in his short term, the governor has already made health care an early focus of his administration. As a cancer survivor himself, Evers has said making sure people with pre-existing conditions are protected if the Affordable Care Act is struck down is an issue that's important not only to him, but also families across the state. He's also pushed for Medicaid expansion, something that Republican leaders in the state legislature have said is a non-starter for them, but the governor has indicated he may put in his budget proposal anyway. Now, again, we don't know exactly what Governor Evers will be talking about here tonight. Republicans will be giving their response after that. Of course, we'll have a team here to cover it all.
All right, Josh Spreiter reporting live from the Capitol. Thank you, Josh. And as you mentioned, this address is scheduled to start at 7 o'clock tonight. We will stream it live on channel3000.com, and then afterwards, Josh mentioned this as well, we will have team coverage with political reporter Rose Schmidt and our chief political reporter Jessica Arp. They will be live from the Capitol on News 3 at 10.
Ahead of tonight's State of the State address, the State Assembly is expected to take up a bill to make sure people with pre-existing conditions can still get health insurance even if the Affordable Care Act is struck down. The measure would require insurance companies to accept anyone who applies for coverage, regardless of their previous health history. But right now, the bill does not include a ban on lifetime caps for insurance or require that they cover benefits like the cost of prescription drugs. Those are both things that are currently covered by the ACA. The Assembly passed a version of this same bill last year already, but it failed in the Senate during lame duck session.
The president has responded to a controversial viral video now offering his support for students who appear to be taunting a Native American veteran. Now, students from a Catholic high school in Kentucky who were taking part in the March for Life in D.C. were featured in that video. Chaperones for those students say a group of African-American Hebrew Israelites started it all by yelling hateful things at them. Then you're seeing Nathan Phillips, he's on the right side of your screen there. He says he saw the encounter and inserted himself between the two groups, hoping to calm the situation down, and that's when the video was taken. Today in Madison, people are gathering at the Capitol to protest and show their support for Phillips.
Meanwhile, March for Life Wisconsin will also hold its annual march today, marking the 46th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade ruling. This year, pro-life marchers are asked to bring a package of diapers to donate to children in need and to urge their legislators to support an adoption tax credit in the state's budget proposal. Both rallies are expected to start around 11 this morning.
Today marks 3 years now since a 5-year-old boy was killed in a drive-by shooting in Beloit. 5-year-old Austin Ramos Jr. was killed on this day in 2016 when a group of 4 men were aiming for Ramos's father. Instead, Austin was hit in the stomach. He died at the hospital. Authorities say that shooting was related to an old gang rivalry. 2 suspects in the case have pleaded guilty to charges of reckless homicide. Another suspect, Hugo Martinez, has a plea hearing scheduled for Thursday. And the final suspect in this case, Isaac Torres, has a plea hearing scheduled in about 2 weeks.
As we prepare for another snowstorm today, you might want to consider giving your loved ones and neighbors some help shoveling. This weekend, 2 men in the Milwaukee area both died from heart attacks after shoveling the snow outside their homes. The sister of a 59-year-old man had said he had younger guys in the neighborhood go out to shovel his sidewalks, but she thinks her brother went back out to dig his truck out of the snow. First responders say shoveling can be dangerous, even for someone in good health.
There's a lot of bearing down and upper body work that actually increases your blood pressure as you scoop and shovel that snow and get your arms raised up.
A 91-year-old West Allis man also died from shoveling this weekend. First responders say sometimes elderly folks don't want to ask for help. So if you're healthy enough to shovel, they're asking people to be good neighbors and do it for them.
Oh, that is so sad to
It
think
is.
about. Yeah,
I
definitely
don't like that.
just lend a helping hand. So with
Yeah.
all the snow expected, if you need a vacation, we're learning about new plans for a new luxury hotel in outer space, way north. The details are next here, coming up in the morning sprint.
Up north. And the Friday night lights aren't inspiring school spirit for some living in the Monroe Street area. We're going to preview Common Council's discussion of the Edgewood High School Stadium. That's coming up on News 3 this morning.
Welcome back. So we are flashing back to some warmer times because why not? Tina shared this My Morning picture. I think it's from the spring or summer. You can see some snow in the distance, so I'm not totally counting it out of the My Morning picture, but she emailed this one over. Really pretty shot.
Boy, Tina, you've got me thinking about vacation, which is needed on this snowy Wisconsin wintry day.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing. Tina, what does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it on our Facebook page or on Twitter, and use the hashtag MyNews3Morning. Danica and I share our favorites right here on the program.
So if you want to learn more about crime in your neighborhood, Madison's police chief will update Alders on those statistics tonight. And overall, it's actually good news. According to Chief Mike Koval's quarterly report, during the last quarter of 2018, shots fired incidents were down 21% compared to that time in the year before. Heroin overdoses were down about 47% over that time period, and burglaries are down 6%. Police did see an increase in robberies in the past quarter. Those went up by 18%.
People living in the Monroe neighborhood near Edgewood High School might be interested in hearing about tonight's Common Council meeting. That's because Alders are considering a somewhat controversial plan to upgrade the football stadium there with lights and a more powerful sound system. The school has proposed limiting the number of home games every season and ending them earlier. But a number of neighbors living around Edgewood argue that would still be too intrusive. The plan was originally supposed to be considered earlier this month, but the city gave the neighborhood association some more time to review this latest compromise before a decision is made.
So almost 50 school districts have now canceled classes, including Dodgeville, Darlington, and Sauk Prairie. We continue to update that information at the bottom of your screen there. But we are bracing for up to 10 inches of snow across southern Wisconsin today. Hattie will have all of the details coming up next.
But first, if you have a little kiddo turning 3 soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV. Thanks for watching News 3 This Morning. All right, continuing our places, we're not serious this morning. This is not Wisconsin, folks. It's Clearwater Beach, Florida. Definitely the opposite of what we're about to see here in Wisconsin. Upwards of 10 inches of snow Hattie's talking about.
It's just mean.
Oh, it is. We'll check in with Hattie in just a little bit. In basketball, when you're hot, and a Golden State player is evidence of that fact after last night's game against the Lakers.
Yeah, Klay Thompson is trending on Twitter this morning after setting a new NBA record for making his first 10 three-pointers, like first 10 he ever attempted in the NBA.
What?
He actually ended up doubling his average points per game this season, racking up 44 points at the Staples Center. Warriors, as you can imagine, defeated the Lakers 130 to 111.
Danica, I have never made a three-pointer in my life.
It's few and far between for me, and that is probably flexing my muscle a little bit.
Okay, also trending this morning, there's a new feature on Spotify that lets you mute and block certain artists that you never want to hear again. So that means the artists you can't stand will never accidentally pop up in your Discover Weekly or other playlists you're exploring. The blocking feature is available right now on Apple devices. It's expected to be released to all users soon.
And Leah, just so you know, coming next is the block or mute your co-anchor button, in case you get sick of me.
Never, Danica. Your voice is that of an angel.
Oh boy, that's okay. All right.
Should hear her sing.
She's delusional. She needs more sleep.
It's early in the morning.
We do really want to hear from Hattie McLean today, though, because even though it might not be good news, depending on what you like in your forecast, it's certainly important news to hear, Hads.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to the weather today. I'm still back in Clearwater, Florida, though. That beach picture was pretty darn nice. Maybe if you squint, the snow could maybe look like a sand or a beach, but that might be a stretch. Today is an alert day through Wednesday morning. I've added Wednesday morning into the alert days because this snow is expected to continue tonight and accumulate even tomorrow morning. There still is a little bit of a risk for some freezing rain to mix in, especially in southeastern Wisconsin. That's where we have the winter weather advisory this morning. But for the rest of us in the pink shaded area, it's a winter storm warning. It's already in effect for southwestern Wisconsin. Starts at 9 o'clock for the rest of the area. So here's a look at the threats with this particular winter storm. We are going to see moderate snow developing this morning, continuing tonight into Wednesday morning, probably coming to an end between 9 and 10 o'clock. So about 24 hours for this snowfall. Winds are from the southeast this morning, making it feel pretty cold outside, but northwesterly winds kick in later today and continue on Wednesday. We're talking pretty cold wind chills by late Wednesday into early Thursday. And again, there is that small risk for a little bit of freezing rain to the south. Here's a look at snow accumulation, or I should say snow falling in the area. Pretty low chance this morning, so it's not going to impact the morning commute, but those chances ramp up pretty quickly through the mid-morning. By lunchtime, snow becoming likely for most of southern Wisconsin. And here's a look at the updated snow potential map. We've upped these totals a little bit over the last 10 hours. We're looking at a general 5 to 10 inch snowfall for most of southern Wisconsin, with the potential for a little bit of freezing rain to the south and east. That'll keep those snow totals down there. Lighter amounts as you head into central Wisconsin as well. So here's a look at Doppler track this morning. Things are relatively quiet. There has been some development off to the north and east. As the storm system moves in, I would expect that snow to increase in coverage across Iowa and move into southern Wisconsin mid-morning. Here's a look at your GFS future track model. By 11 o'clock this morning, you see that snow in place for much of south central and southwestern Wisconsin. It continues late today into tonight for the entire area. That pink shaded color getting pretty close to southern Wisconsin as well. Everything comes to an end tomorrow morning. Here's a look at our temperatures. At least we're not as cold right now. Temps are in the double digits across all of southern Wisconsin. 16 in Watertown as well as here in Madison, 19 in Mineral Point. Wind chills, though, are still in the single digits, so bundle up. And again, here's a closer look at that snow spreading into southern Wisconsin. 7 o'clock, between 7 and noon, that snow spreads into the area, so it will impact the lunch hour and the evening commute home tonight. Plan a lot of extra time to get to where you're going. Snow continues overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, gradually coming to an end. Here's a look at your extended forecast then. Temperatures are going to be a little bit colder tomorrow, but turning much colder by the end of the week. In fact, I have alert days in the forecast for Friday and Saturday. We're talking daytime highs, barely getting above 0 on Friday. Those morning wind chills could be as low as 30 or 35 below Friday morning. So plan on that frigid weather, and then another chance for accumulating snow coming Sunday into Monday. Very active in the weather department for the next couple of days. Well, this picture was taken on a much warmer day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Pete, Hans, and Rainey, they're not going to be sitting outside in a lawn chair today.
Nope, you better believe all 3 of those buddies are going to be under a blanket today.
I think so.
All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
The Morning Sprint's coming up next right here on News 3 This Morning. .52, time for the morning sprint. Josh Spreiter is live at the Capitol this morning, looking ahead to Governor Tony Evers' first State of the State address.
But the top news of the day, the storm headed our way. Hattie is breaking down when and where we're going to see the most snow today. Hattie?
Yeah, we are looking at a winter storm warning in effect this morning. Alert day as well through Wednesday morning. We are all under that winter storm warning today through Wednesday. Total snow accumulation by Wednesday morning will range from 5 to 10 inches for most of southern Wisconsin. Lighter amounts to the north and west, as well as south and east.
Thank you, Hattie. As we prepare for another snowstorm today, you might want to consider your loved ones and neighbors who might need help shoveling. This weekend, 2 men in the Milwaukee area both died from heart attacks after shoveling the snow outside their homes. First responders say sometimes elderly folks don't want to ask for help, so if you're healthy enough to shovel, they're asking people to be good neighbors and do it for them.
We don't deny anyone because it's a cold weather day, so our numbers increase dramatically.
With the snow and the frigid cold, the area's homeless shelters are at or over capacity. The Beacon Day shelter had to squeeze as many people as possible inside yesterday, and the Salvation Army's emergency shelter was over capacity at that time. These organizations are always looking for help, and we have more information on that over on channel3000.com.
I'm Josh Butter, live from the state capitol, where Governor Tony Evers will be giving his first ever State of the State address tonight. He's already made health care an early focus of his administration. That includes pushing to make sure people with pre-existing conditions are guaranteed health coverage if the Affordable Care Act were to be struck down. Evers also pushed for Medicaid expansion, something that Republican leaders in the state have said is a non-starter for them. The former state superintendent has made education a big focus as well. He's already announced his plans to increase funding for public schools by $1.4 billion. The address is scheduled to begin at 7 o'clock tonight, and then after that, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos will give the Republican response.
Thank you, Josh. Before that address, the State Assembly is expected to take up a bill to make sure people with pre-existing conditions can still get health insurance if the Affordable Care Act is ever struck down. The measure would require insurance companies to accept anyone who applies for coverage, regardless of their previous health history. Right now, the bill does not include a ban on lifetime caps for insurance or require that they cover benefits like the cost of prescription drugs. Those are both things covered by the current ACA.
A lab that makes rat poison here in Madison should be back up and running today after it was evacuated for a gas leak. Madison police got a call just after 4 this morning at Bell Laboratories on the east side near Madison College. Police say workers inside hit a gas pipe, and that's what caused the leak. Firefighters and MG&E crews were able to get the gas turned off, and no one was hurt.
President Trump is on Twitter already this morning talking about funding for the border wall as 800,000 federal workers prepare to miss another paycheck during the shutdown on day 32 today. The Senate is expected to take up the president's proposal to reopen the government with funding for that wall in exchange for temporary protections for so-called dreamers. Meanwhile, House Democrats will vote on their own legislation to reopen the government, which does not include any funding for the wall.
Protesters in Madison will gather at the state capitol today in support of a Native American veteran who appeared in a video to be mocked by a group of teenagers in D.C. The president's tweeting in support of those students this morning, saying they will use the situation for good and bring people together. Chaperones for those students say another group started the controversy by yelling hateful things at them. Nathan Phillips, who you just saw there, says he put himself in between the two groups, hoping to calm the situation.
Tonight at Common Council, alders are considering a somewhat controversial plan to upgrade the football stadium at Edgewood High School with lights and a more powerful sound system. The school has proposed limiting the number of home games every season and ending them earlier, but a number of neighbors living around Edgewood argue that would still be too intrusive.
We are learning there's a new luxury space hotel in the works. Startup company Orion Span is building the Aurora Station, boasting views of 16 sunrises a day and floating in zero gravity. The hotel can hold 6 guests and a $9.5 million price tag each. Yeah, it's expected to make its debut in 2021, a year earlier than expected.
All right, 6:56 now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with a look at your first alert traffic. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, the usual crowd beginning to show up on the westbound Beltline with some brake lights around Monona Drive exit. Inbound John Nolan getting busier. The inbound side is slowing down between Olin Avenue and North Shore Drive moving into downtown. And other main routes heading into the city, they're cruising along at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
And again, we await the start of the snow here across southern Wisconsin. Here's the view from the Edgewater Skycam at the Capitol. No snow falling here in Madison. Kind of a chilly start to the day, though. Temperatures are in the teens this morning with wind chills near zero. Snow spreads into the area by 10 o'clock and then continues on and off for the rest of the day. Heaviest snow is expected this evening into the overnight hours. Again, here's a look at total snow accumulation. We're definitely going to be shoveling tomorrow. 5 to 10 inches is what's expected for southern Wisconsin.
Bundle up and take it slow out on the roads today.
Yeah, it's going to impact the evening commute as well as the commute to work or school tomorrow morning. So plan ahead, plan accordingly. It's going to be slow.
Yeah, about 50 school districts, more than 50, closed now for the day because of this storm system. The other big story, Tony Evers' State of the State address. We will have live coverage from the governor's address tonight on News 3 at 10.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.